Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Florentin and this will be the third video in a series where I talk about the book Los Romeros, Royal Family of the Spanish Guitar. Now if you'd like to get this book for yourself and read along with me, I know that some of you already got the book after watching my first couple of videos. I'll place an Amazon link at the bottom if you're into classical guitar music, flamenco music, guitar history, music biographies, then this book will be worth your money and worth your time. So take a look at the Amazon link below. And when I started this series a little while ago, I wasn't aware that this year we would celebrate 60 years since the first public performance of the Romeros. So it's quite fitting that I'm reading this book right now and recording this series right now. There's actually a YouTube documentary, a celebration documentary, celebrating 60 years of public performance, 60 years of music making from the Romeros. I'll place a link of that at the bottom. Feel free to take a look when you're done watching my video. This is part 3 in my series, and I'm actually covering part 2 in the book. That's because in part 1 of my series I covered the introduction, which is quite lengthy. So this is part 3 in my series, but it covers part 2 in the book. Part 2 is titled Southern California, and it includes chapters 5 through 8. Now I read most of these chapters with Los Romeros music in my ears, so I'll place some links at the bottom if you want to check out some of this music, maybe some of their most well-known recordings. The Los Romeros, maybe something by Pepe, something by Angel maybe. So feel free to check it out. So chapter 5 is titled Santa Barbara, and it brings us to the year 1957 when the family arrives into the United States and they move to Santa Barbara. And we start reading about this slow but steady ascent of the family in becoming a family of musicians of great renown, great influence, and eventually great wealth. Now before we talk about great wealth, it was funny to read about the first family car the Romeros purchased. This was I'm reading my notes here, a 1948 Pontiac 2-door sedan, 4-cylinder, which they bought for $99. We also read about Celedonio's first concert in the States, which was given on June the 13th, 1957, which was very successful and had great reviews. Chapter 6 is titled Hollywood, and the family moves to Hollywood so they will be closer to more musical opportunities. Apparently they were first involved with buying and selling guitars, and when they drew the line, there was just not enough money, not enough profit, so they ended up doing a lot of teaching instead, lots of teaching. And we read about the first breakout concert for the Romeros in 1961 in Los Angeles. And this was followed by an increased number of performances all around the United States. And the one thing that is being underlined in this chapter is that the Romeros had great success on the stage, not only because they were very accomplished musicians, which they were, but also because it was a different kind of ensemble. It was a family, and audiences were not used to seeing, a string quartet, a piano trio, a guitar quartet, that was actually a family. So the fact that there were these talented, well-accomplished musicians, and on top of that, they were a family, father and siblings, caused the audiences to really like the Romeros a lot and made them quite unique. So that's underlined in this chapter. We read about appearances on important TV shows such as the Ed Sullivan Show in 1967, and it's a little bit of a funny story there where they're about to go on the stage and 2 of the members of the quartet are missing. They're wandering through the hallways or offices at the building, and they barely make it on time before going on the stage, so that was a little bit scary. Funny for me to read, probably scary for them. Speaking of funny stories and struggles like that, we read about, I think it's in this chapter. Yeah, we read about how after witnessing an accident, Celine, one of the siblings, after witnessing a deadly car crash where car passengers were thrown out through the windows of the car and lost their lives. From that moment on, Celine would require every passenger in his car to wear a motorcycle helmet, at least for a while. So there's kind of a funny story where they're driving to a performance venue in the winter, and they get stuck in a snowstorm, and they have to abandon the car on the highway and walk through a field and end up in some small unknown village in the country somewhere, and knock on somebody's door, and this person opens up and sees 4 or 5 people standing there covered in snow, wearing motorcycle helmets and carrying guitar cases. So that was quite a funny story to read. So that's chapter 6. Chapter 7 is titled Del Mar, where they moved after Hollywood. This was close to San Diego, and we read about this this lack of saturation of quality musicians as you have in places like Hollywood. So this helped the Romeros rise to even more fame and fortune because there were fewer high quality musicians in that area. In this section we read about increased public performances, also increased benefit performances, like concerts for charity, for fundraising for different events or individuals, performances for politicians of high influence such as Nixon and Carter and Clinton. We read about them getting Christmas cards from Bill Clinton and having this correspondence going. And then performances for international personalities like the King and Queen of Spain, the Pope. So this chapter covers that sort of information. Chapter 8 is titled The World, and it follows the Romeros from being a nationally recognized guitar ensemble to becoming an internationally recognized guitar ensemble. And they start to tour the world over, not just Europe. They played lots of performances in Europe, places like England, Spain, their homeland, Germany, but even as far as Australia. So they really took the instrument as far as Segovia ever took it, that's for sure. Now pages 125 and 126 were very interesting to read. They include very specific achievements and accomplishments that the Romeros and some of the individuals in the Romeros ensemble achieved. So that was very interesting to read. And the end of the chapter brings us to the year 1990, which coincidentally was the year that my family moved to the States. And it would be only 3 years later, I think it was 1993 if I'm not mistaken, that I would see the Romeros perform live for the first time. I was a first-year classical guitar student at DePaul University in Chicago, and we traveled all the way to, I believe it was Millikan University in Southern Illinois. It was like a 3-day guitar conference, lots of students and teachers and performers there. I saw and was conducted by Scott Tennant there. I saw lots of very famous performers of the day, and one of the evenings we had a concert given by the Romeros. So that was really an amazing experience. And I remember on the bus ride home, which was like a 3-hour ride, thinking what a great event that was, what great music we just heard and played, and how much I wanted to work really hard and someday become a great classical guitarist. But this video is not about me, so I'm going to stop with that now. And that brings us to the end of the chapter and section of part 2. Now, at the end of this chapter, it's kind of like the middle, the middle point of the book. There's a whole bunch of very nice pictures I don't think I should show them here because of copyright. I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube or with Romeros, right? There's some very nice pictures that I'm sure you would enjoy. Some of them are personal from their family. Some of them are public pictures from public performances, and this is a very nice thing to look at and flip through. So that brings us to the end of part 2, and in a few days, maybe a couple of weeks or so, I will move on to the next section and share that with you. Thanks for watching my video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to write them at the bottom. Don't forget to go watch this video. I'll place the link at the bottom. It's a 60th anniversary video documentary on YouTube about the Romeros. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Thanks for watching my video. Don't forget to get the book if you want to. There's a link at the bottom. Have a wonderful day. See you next time.